How the Midway Bar came to be destroyed is not in doubt. A 42-feet sailing catamaran hangs 10 feet above the former barroom, still wedged in the ruins more than 2 months after Hurricane Irma made landfall in the British Virgin Islands BVI. But how it will ever be restored remains unclear. The Sundowner is just one of hundreds of wrecked boats still littered across the island, tossed ashore, dumped on the seabed, or torn to pieces by Irma and its sister storm Maria. "Irma destroyed me," said the bar's owner, Isadro Thomas, as he surveyed the devastation. 13 years this bar stood here. I'd have it rebuilt already if they'd just move this damn catamaran. With the local economy in tatters and the annual tourist season fast approaching, dealing with hurricane boats, and thousands of tons of other storm debris, is becoming an urgent priority for the BVI. The government is acutely aware that it needs to restart the tourist economy and recently announced that visitors are once again welcome to the islands. But those expecting the paradise of old might have to wait. When the BVI took the force of Hurricane Irma on the 6th of September, it was the most powerful Atlantic hurricane ever recorded, with winds that averaged 185 miles per hour, gusting to 215 miles per hour. Less than 2 weeks later, the islands were hit for a second time by Hurricane Maria. Such was the force of the wind that even boats secured in the most sheltered lagoons cartwheeled huge distances, as did cars, shipping containers and roofs. Almost every tree was stripped of leaves and bark, then broken or blown away. About lies amid the damage in the British Virgin Islands. About 2,000 vessels are believed to have been destroyed. Photographed Georgina Stubbs wire images when residents awoke the day after Irma. Their tropical island views had gone from paradise to post-nuclear. And for a small territory which sold itself on its natural beauty, the disposal of thousands of tons of debris has become a new national emergency. "I heard an estimate that, in the first month we processed a year's worth of garbage," says Anselm Myers, assistant manager at the Department of Waste Management. "That's about right. In normal times, most of the island's unsorted garbage is incinerated. Like many other small territories, BVI is simply unable to recycle. If you could make a profit out of it," says Myers, "a lot of people would have been doing it already." Charlotte McDevitt, a PhD specialist in the subject and founder of the local non-profit, Green V, said that small islands around the world face similar challenges when it comes to dealing with waste. "It's difficult being so far from the recycling markets. People don't pay for waste in the Caribbean, so we have to find ways to reduce it and process what we can locally," she said. "I heard an estimate that, in the first month we processed a year's worth of garbage." Anselm Myers, waste manager at Cox Heath, one of several new debris management hubs set up since the storms. Trucks drive in between 2 40-feet wedges of garbage half a mile long. Once there, they tip their backs up and a large yellow excavator scrapes out the contents, grabs bucketfuls and adds them to the ever-growing pile. Moments later, the next truck arrives. Now that roads have been cleared, Myers' team is starting on the next task, picking through the waste, taking out metals and pushing organic waste onto burn piles. Plastic and household waste goes into the incinerator. What happens to the metals is not yet known. On the shorelines, fiberglass boats are being raised daily by the few available cranes big enough to lift them. About 2,000 vessels are believed to have been destroyed. Around 8,090% of the BVI's charter fleet was damaged, says Michael Hurst, a local marine surveyor. If those between 40 and 60% will probably be write-offs. "Whether we're repairing or disposing of them, we have a lot of boats to deal with. What happens to the wrecks next is unclear." Options include scuttling them far out at sea, barging them to the U.S. for disposal, or creating a new boatyard to repair or chop them up, while also creating jobs and training schemes. A view of the aftermath in Tortola, the largest of the British Virgin Islands. Photographed Georgina Stubbs wire images. It's too early to say which option will prevail, though the government has said that it won't allow wrecked boats to simply be sunk offshore, where they will eventually break up and float to the surface in pieces. Other solutions are also being considered. Most of these boats are made of fiberglass, which, if it is processed right, can be used for aggregate and concrete, says Julie Swartz, whose tiny recycling startup, Green and Clean BVI, has found itself in sudden demand. Organics go to compost, wood is getting made into charcoal, plastic and aluminum cans go into a compactor, and metals are separated into different types, says Swartz. Galvanized roofing, she tells me, is chopped into small pieces and put into the baler for shipping to a recycler in Florida. Swartz believes she can bring the load down just by separating and flowing the different materials to the right places. "And no, I'm not making any money out of it," she says. "But we are making enough to pay between 4 and 8 people who've been employed every day since the storm." Once the immediate debris crisis has been dealt with, the BVI government hopes to make the territory a model of resilience for the future and establish a long-term recycling system, says Greg Massacote, manager of the government's Department of Waste Management. We very much see this as an opportunity to implement a system that's much better than the one we had before, he says.